Well, thank you all for coming this morning to the Climate Action Caucus. Today we're going to be continuing our series of conversations, and it'll be focused on higher education. We're so lucky in Minnesota that we have so many wonderful higher education facilities, and looking forward to hearing from researchers and staff and students. And so thank you all for coming. As you can see from our agenda, we have a pretty tight agenda, and so we're going to have to try and be as succinct as we can. And I think what we'll do is go through the presentations and then save questions for the end, and that'll be an opportunity to be able to maybe cover some of the things that we weren't able to cover in presentations. And so look forward to the conversation. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Representative Bernardi, who is chair of the Higher Ed Committee, as you all know, and she's going to help by introducing the speakers today. So thanks for coming.
Well, thank you, Patty Acom, for your leadership on our climate caucus, and appreciate all the work that you've been doing this, and your staff who has been pulling this together, and my higher education staff too. So,
and I forgot, we should really take a moment and have members introduce themselves so we know what House members and Climate Action Caucus members are here today. So maybe we'll take a minute and just quick go around the table and make some introductions. Sorry about that. Sure, let's start down with Alice. I'm sorry, Senator, I apologize. Please.
That's all right. I'm sneaking into this meeting.
Well, welcome. We're so glad you decided to come and join us.
Thank you. My name is Greg Clausen. Good morning. I'm a member of the Minnesota Senate, serving the communities of Apple Valley, Rosemont, Northeast Lakeville, and Coates. And thank you.
Well, thanks for coming.
Alice Hausman, Minnesota House.
Steve Sandell, Minnesota House.
Shelley Christensen, Minnesota House.
Kelly Moeller, Minnesota House.
Representative Amy Wozliak from District 38B.
Hi, good morning. State Representative Frank Hornstein. I represent parts of downtown and southwest Minneapolis.
oh, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
Sure.
Okay.
Go ahead. Let's introduce staff. Let's please.
Hi, I'm Addie Miller. I am the new CA for the Higher Education Committee and the Environment Policy Committee in the House.
I'm Lindy Somick. I'm the staff member for the Climate Action Caucus.
And Haley.
Hi, I'm Haley Cobb, and I am keeping time today.
So everybody keep an eye on her. She'll let you know if you're going over, which we're going over now. So
Okay,
we'll pass it back to
Okay. So thank you and welcome. We have roughly 20 minutes for this this part of our meeting today, and I already thanked our people. And the first up this morning, we have a group joining us from student and faculty of the University of Minnesota. Our first presenter is Dr. Chris Kramer, Vice President of Research at the University of Minnesota. Dr. Kramer, welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourself and begin your presentation.
Chair Bernardi, Chair Acom, members of the caucus, and others, thank you for this opportunity to present, and I will be very mindful of the time. So I start every presentation with the values of my office, the Office of the Vice President for Research. You can see them there, but in the interest of time, I actually won't define them for you. Instead, I'm going to move on and make the point that climate is a priority of the university. Climate change is real. It affects our states. Our state, it's affecting our university too, our students, their families, our facilities, sporting events. We welcome dialogue with the legislature, and we want to be a partner in solving these issues. So you can and you should ask us to do more in this space, and today I'm going to try to quickly overview our work in research, teaching, engagement, and operations. We have the knowledge and the scope to tackle this issue. I want to emphasize we are the state's major research university and a land-grant institution. We spend nearly $1 billion in research, most of that raised from external partners. Across the system each year, we're ranked number 9 among public research institutions in the United States by the National Science Foundation. It's our responsibility to educate students and to advance knowledge for the benefit of Minnesota, including taking on the many complex questions about the nature of climate change and its effects on our communities, our individual health, and the possibilities for both mitigation and adaptation in our homes, our built environment, the natural environment, industry, agriculture, and the energy that we use. So the U's investing in climate change work in many different ways. Here's one illustrative example, recognizing the interdisciplinary nature of climate change and other environmental issues. The university faculty and administrative leaders created the Institute on the Environment 12 years ago to catalyze interdisciplinary and outward-facing research and education on the environment. For students, faculty, other learners, and leaders across our state, IONE is actually part of my portfolio in the Office of the Vice President for Research, and its director, Jessica Hellman, would be here today, but she's actually traveling outside the state. So the university committed to sustained funding for this institute, making it a permanent fixture of our academic landscape, and it leverages this funding to attract substantial additional external support. Over time, the Institute's taken on a major role in climate change research, education, and outreach. For example, this week it's releasing a call for interdisciplinary proposals for research on its goal of achieving carbon neutrality, and this will stimulate new research activity. The Institute also manages the highly successful current slate of projects supported by the Xcel Energy Renewable Development Fund, which are focused on renewable electricity generation. And in the past, these funds have helped support the research of Mike Reese and team, one of our presenters here today. And Jessica Gutnick, one of the researchers you'll hear from in a moment, has an appointment as an IONE associate, which helps facilitate her work protecting soils. So students, of course, are concerned, passionate, you're going to get a chance to hear some of that passion, about climate change and mitigation and addressing it. We have students here working at our Cedar Creek research facility where some of our longest term climate change studies have been conducted. And our students come to us keenly aware and interested in the issues related to climate change. Recently, we've made many curricular adjustments and innovations in order to address this emerging area. So for undergraduates, the sustainability minor is now a decade old, and it's led the way for interdisciplinary climate change-related education. We've created new majors related to tackling climate change. That includes in bioproducts and biosystems engineering, a sustainable systems management, both master's and doctoral program in conservation biology, which has now become conservation science more broadly. Our earth sciences has added an earth and environmental science focus, and there is now a Bachelor of Science degree and an undergraduate minor in environmental geosciences. And most recently, student leaders have called upon the university to create a new major in environmental justice. We're listening to those new interests and needs, and you'll hear actually from Climate Strike students later on your agenda today. We know that to prepare students for a world experience that grapples with climate change, they need science and technology, ethics and justice, policy, economics. These are all tied in, and we see a great blossoming of courses that involve climate change across that spectrum. So right now at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, we have 17 so-called Grand Challenge courses. These are outside of traditional curricular silos and meant to bring together all of these various facets to tackle grand challenges. And they include, for instance, Can We Feed the World Without Destroying It? Taught by my colleagues David Tillman and Jason Hill. And Bio-Inspired Approaches to Sustainability, Greening Technologies and Lives, taught by my colleagues Abdinur Abbas, Emily Snell-Rude, and Mark Swackamer. Students also need to forge ties and understand experiences across the globe internationally, and that includes, for instance, looking at how Germany, which has been a real leader in transitioning to renewable energy on its grid, has prioritized renewable energy, or how in Puerto Rico, U.S. citizens are coping with the effects of climate change, which has had dramatic impact in terms of storms, and earthquakes are perhaps not from climate change, but that's posed quite a challenge too. Quite simply, the U is a leader in climate change education and research, and U.S. News and World Report recently recognized the Twin Cities campus as a top 10 campus for ecology and the environment. Whoops, excuse me. All our students are uniquely able to learn, not just by what happens within the curriculum, but also because they're doing research. That's the unique thing we offer as the research institution in the state of Minnesota. So one of my favorite messages to deliver to bodies like this is that research is actually teaching. There's even a hashtag, as you'll see in the upper right, and you know it's real when there's a hashtag. And what I mean is that beyond those formal curriculum and courses, we have students in the laboratory, in the field, actually pushing back the frontiers of our ignorance, the boundaries of our knowledge on how to understand climate change, tackle it, mitigate it as you will. And so I enjoy the luxury of getting to spend lots of time hearing from students about what they're doing on this front. These are a bunch of poster sessions, But perhaps more interestingly, here are some students that are actually out in the field doing work in this area. So for instance, in the lower right there, you see Katie Rennie, who is a doctoral candidate in Duluth's water science program, water resource sciences, looking at algal blooms in Lake Superior, which have become much more prevalent with warming temperatures. And actually that's on board the Blue Heron, a research vessel that's docked in Duluth. Also, as we continue around counterclockwise, you see the Natural Resources Research Institute, NRRI. Many students participate. There's an example of folks looking at adding value to sustainable building products made from wood, and that's Cameron Kalal, who's a UMD chemical engineering major. As we go down to the lower left, you see a faculty member at Morris, Cara Neal. She's an assistant professor of chemistry. She's looking at making functionalized materials that can remove nitrates, filter nitrates out from groundwater and thereby mitigate that kind of contamination, which comes from fertilization. In any case, that's all undergraduates involved in that research. Morris is an undergraduate campus. And finally, on the Twin Cities, I mentioned our grand challenges, and those are tackling big societal earth challenges, climate change. 41 research teams over 4 years, 12 of those teams going after climate change, including such items as in the upper left there, addressing the effects on manure and wild rice growth, cultivated wild rice. You heard last year, actually, from 9 researchers who addressed the House Energy and Water Committee, and that testimony is in the record, and in the interest of time, I'm not actually going to go through all of it, but that gives you a feel for the spectrum of the research that we're undertaking across the campuses. You've asked specific questions about our operations and facilities, and I want to address that, and my colleague Shane Stennis is here for the discussion afterwards, who is the Sustainability Director for the Twin Cities campus. So, as you probably know, we have a sustainability plan. The Board of Regents has had a policy in place since 2004. We are modeling sustainability and pursuing energy efficiency, specifically related to climate. We're a signatory to the Second Nature Carbon Commitment, which is a commitment of over 400 U.S. higher education institutions to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from their operations to net zero. System-wide, we've pledged to reduce emissions by 50% by the end of this year, 50% of 2008 levels, and to net zero by 2050. So in terms of progress to date, from 2008 to 18, we've reduced emissions 37% on the Twin Cities campus and 32% system-wide, and that's the result of significant progress on a number of fronts, retrofitting lights with high-efficiency LEDs, continuously commissioning buildings with new HVAC systems, adhering to sustainable building standards. As an example, over the past 5 years, we've saved $29 million in energy costs on the Twin Cities campus and avoided emissions through this efficiency work. So our focus to date has been on mitigating facility-related emissions, because that's 65% of the Twin Cities emissions. One project we undertook, just to call one out, we renovated our main energy plant on the East Bank into a cogeneration facility, so it's both electricity and heat now. That's reduced our annual carbon footprint by an estimated 10% and is twice as efficient as what we had previously. Our campuses continue to add on-site renewable generation. Morris just completed a 240-kilowatt solar array outside the campus entrance. Duluth has added a 40-kilowatt array and another 51-kilowatt array in the last 2 years. The Twin Cities has put 1,600 kilowatts of solar power on the grid in fall of 18 and is building another 382 kilowatts on the St. Paul campus this winter. And I think I want to show you, there's a kilowatt farm, if you will, a solar farm. And we're now at 25% of purchased electricity on the Twin Cities campus coming from wind and solar resources. So what can we do together is one of the things you've asked us. That's just showing our emissions going down. We see our role in working with forward-thinking legislators like yourselves, continuing to support research into and the strong student interest in solutions for climate change, that's mitigation, adaptation, all within the context of a 21st century economy. That's not only going to help tackle the climate crisis, but it's going to spur economic development, because there are real opportunities on that front where climate change is concerned. Challenge is great. Our investment of time, talent, and dollars should be commensurate with that tremendous need. Supporting funding requests for HEAPR, the Higher Education Asset Preservation Recovery Act, because that allows us to retrofit buildings and make them more efficient. And most of the facilities we have today we expect to have by 2050, so it's critical to make those investments. And finally, tap our knowledge and expertise. We are so eager to be partners on this front. and we have the research, teaching, outreach, and operational experience that can inform the development of policy solutions to this challenge. So that's my presentation. I want to now turn it over to my colleagues. Jessica Gutnick at my left is an assistant professor in the Department of Soil, Water, and Climate and an associate of the Institute on the Environment. She has a PhD in soil microbiology from the evil empire to the east that we call the University of Wisconsin. She's a soil ecologist with years of experience understanding how soil and soil biological communities mediate ecosystem responses to climate change in both natural and agricultural landscapes, and I'll stop there because she'll describe her own. I also want to introduce Michael Reese. He's the Director of Renewable Energy at the West Central Research and Outreach Center in Morris, Minnesota. He's been that director for the last 18 years. It looks, no, wow, it's 2020, 19 years since 2001. He's overseen the development of renewable energy program at Morris and participated as a principal investigator or project manager on more than $18 million of research and demonstration projects, including wind energy, biomass gasification, renewable hydrogen and ammonia. The list goes on. I'll let Mike tell you about it. So please, Jennifer.
And welcome to the committee, Dr. Gutnick. Thank you. You may begin.
Thank you. Representative Acomb, Representative Bernardi, thank you so much for having us here today. I'll reiterate that we are so glad to be here in partnership and as a resource from the university. And I also want to thank you for tackling this complicated issue of climate change, which is so desperately needed. And so, as mentioned, I am a soil scientist and a soil microbiologist out in our Minnesota landscapes. I'm also a dedicated educator at the university. The one comment I'll make today about education is that I'm also one of the instructors of these Grand Challenges courses. I'm here with some of the past students who are all out actively partaking in the climate movement themselves now. And just on Tuesday, I was telling all of our students, 49 new students, that each of their passions and each of their specialties are needed for this work. And I thank them so much for being there. And so that kind of partnership, I think, is what we are striving for in education. I also am here as a mother and a concerned citizen, and I am deeply concerned about the world we are leaving my boys. So we need climate solutions in our agricultural landscape. So why soil, and why thinking from the bottom up? Soil is amazing and beautiful. I'm an unabashed lover of my field. And these soils can function to absorb and store carbon from the atmosphere. And this carbon, some of it in living biota, functions in many, many ways to build soil health and to build climate resiliency. These include roots and microbes physically stabilizing soil. This soil holds water and nutrients, and this soil allows more water from big events to flow through. And we also already have many good options for doing this. We can reduce tillage, we can use cover crops, we can use perennials and perennial crops, which is one of my research specialties, and we can reduce inputs such as less fertilizer and gasoline. In turn, this stored carbon is a climate solution. There is some mitigation potential. There are lower energy need by reducing inputs and improving the efficiency of fertilizer that is put on the land. This carbon removal through plant growth is pulling those CO2 emissions out of the air and into the soil. But I want to point out that this is probably not a good way to get to zero emissions. And I have many ideas about how to get to zero emissions in agricultural landscapes, and my colleague after me will speak to that as well. But there's a very high potential for this for adaptation to climate extremes, and that's really important because our farmers are already experiencing these things. We know we see so much flood damage every year. We see so many disruptions in our agricultural landscapes already from climate change. The adaptation is an important need. And I apologize a bit for my voice. That's the mother, cold season stuff coming out in me. So we know many good options for storing carbon in soil. And we know that storing carbon in soil is a powerful adaptation strategy. So there it is. What do we need to figure out as scientists? What we need to figure out is, number one, that not every method that we have works on every piece of land or works with every farmer's goals. And number two, farmers are already under a lot of economic stress, and the risk of innovation and adaptation is often unfeasible for them. And the way, let me go back just a second. So the way that we can tackle both of these things, just so you can read them one more time, is through partnership with farmers, just as I described partnership with students. And my story of how powerful partnership can be is going to start with a new perennial grain, Kernza, that you may have heard of. It's gotten some popular press recently. Kernza is a deeply rooted plant, as I've shown here, and it conveys many of these properties of the soil that I was describing. Deep roots, Kernza cultivates some microbes, so we're bringing just many, many tons of carbon into the soil. But it's new and risky, and so we can't ask someone who's been planting corn and soybeans for decades to all of a sudden switch to perennials. But the reason that a lot of you have probably started to hear about Kernza is through successes with very great partnerships with farmers. This is Carmen Fernholtz. He's a farmer at A-Frame Farm in Madison, Minnesota. He has been an amazing partner of the university for many decades. He's been organic farming since the 70s. And he is standing in front of a large acreage of Kernza that he just harvested for the first time last fall. And these are pictures of him harvesting different methods. And we learn such a tremendous amount with every single thing that he does. And so we have all of this kind of toolbox of strategies, but we need to get them out on the landscape with partners in order to really know what are going to be the most viable solutions for our state and for our citizens, especially in our rural communities. Carmen has done this, and our team has done this out of, willpower and a labor of love that we can't expect every single person to have. So we need to give them tools. And in closing, we need policy to make it, so my policy recommendation is very brief. I'm happy to chat more later. We need to make it easier to implement strategies for storing carbon. So we need to incentivize and remove risk for farmers to experiment with new methods and new potential strategies. And we need more support for researcher, practitioner, co-creation of research so that we can really kind of work with farmers and get these things out on the land without the kind of intensity that we do it now without a lot of resources behind it. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And before we move on to Director Reese, I wanted to point out we have one of our two more Climate Caucus members joined us. And if you could just introduce yourselves, I'd appreciate that.
Hello, sorry for being late. I'm Representative Vane. I represent District 40B Booking Center.
Good morning, Representative Kelly Morrison, 33B, which is 9 communities in the South Lake Minnetonka area.
Thank you and welcome. And Mr. Reese, you can proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Representative Aiken. Again, for the record, my name is Michael Reese. Agriculture is a leading industry in Minnesota with over 18, let's see, not advancing here.
Down here.
Thank you. Agriculture is a leading industry in Minnesota with over $18.4 billion of sales. Unfortunately, the industry is also a leader in greenhouse gas emissions, ranking third next to transportation and electric utilities. Globally, agriculture makes up about 24% of greenhouse gas emissions. Even though progress has been made, the agriculture industry faces significant challenges in decarbonizing its energy. In my opinion, transformative technology is required to achieve significant reductions. 10 years ago, the Renewable Energy Crops, Dairy, and Swine programs at the West Central Research and Outreach Center embarked on a goal to reduce fossil energy consumption and production in agriculture. We call this effort the Greening of Agriculture Energy Initiative. We began by measuring energy consumption across our research farm as well as on commercial livestock farms. Renewable and efficient energy technologies were then applied in innovative ways. Across our research farm, we generate wind energy from large and small-scale wind turbines, produce electricity from multiple solar arrays, utilize solar thermal technologies to generate both heating and cooling, transformed our dairy and our swine facilities to better use renewables and power autonomous weed control systems using solar PV. Perhaps the most transformative technology we are pursuing in using wind energy is using wind energy to power the production of anhydrous ammonia. In 2013, a pilot plant was built that uses electricity from a utility-scale wind turbine to produce hydrogen by electrolyzing water. Nitrogen is separated from air, and then the gases are combined in a century-old chemical process named after its inventor, the Haber-Bosch process. Why is this so important and transformative? Corn production is the backbone of agriculture in Minnesota, with over 7.9 million acres planted in 2018. About a third of the corn is used to produce 1.3 billion gallons of ethanol in Minnesota, with the remainder primarily used for livestock feed. Tremendous amounts of energy are consumed in the production of corn. The pie graph represents the fossil energy footprint of corn production as measured at our research farm. Sorry, if you have your, there we go. One more. Okay. Well, thank you. So, where am I? Sorry about that. So, again, tremendous amounts of energy are consumed in the production of corn. The pie graph represents the fossil energy footprint of corn production as measured at our research farm. Grain drying represents about 42%, while tractor field work is about 14%. Some may be surprised, however, that nitrogen fertilizer makes up roughly 36% of the fossil energy footprint. This is due to the fact that natural gas is currently used in the production of anhydrous ammonia, contributing over 1% to the global greenhouse gas emissions. So how can we as a state meet this challenge and transform agriculture energy? As I draw your attention back to the pie chart, over 90% of the fossil energy consumed in the production of corn can be displaced with low-carbon anhydrous ammonia produced using wind energy. Nitrogen fertilizer production, grain drying, and tractor field work can all essentially be fueled with wind energy. The University of Minnesota is a global leader in this field of research, with the first wind-to-ammonia pilot plant in the world, and patented technologies for efficient production and utilization of wind-produced ammonia. In simple terms, we are putting wind energy in a bottle. We envision a sustainable energy and agriculture system in which local production facilities use wind energy to produce ammonia. The ammonia is then used as fertilizer and fuel. Compared to other energy storage, ammonia is flexible and has many potential uses. Local smart grids and utilities can use ammonia to provide short and long-term storage to back up intermittent wind and solar generation. Farmers can produce wind-generated ammonia to significantly reduce the carbon footprint of their products. Using wind production and energy load data from the Morris campus and the WCRC research farm, case studies using ammonia as energy storage have indicated a very competitive levelized cost of electricity at 9.4 cents per kilowatt hour and a low carbon credit cost of $17.60 per ton. This is transformative. Anhydrous ammonia is the basis of nitrogen fertilizer production across the world and is responsible for feeding half the global population. The University of Minnesota is leading research to decarbonize nitrogen fertilizer production. Colleagues in the Department of Chemical Engineering and Material Science, as well as Bioproducts and Biosystems Engineering, have developed more efficient renewable ammonia production technologies, many of which have been patented. As shown in this graph from the U.S. Department of Energy, storing wind energy as ammonia is less costly when compared to other technologies, such as batteries, and has the added benefit of providing long-term seasonal storage. The university is conducting leading-edge research to store energy in the form of anhydrous ammonia and then use it as fuel. For example, as shown in this slide, Professor Will Northrup has developed an ammonia-fueled tractor, and research is underway to convert natural gas-fired grain dryer to combust ammonia. Our research team is now partnering with collaborators across the nation and world to perhaps bring a large-scale demonstration project to Minnesota. This ongoing research, I believe Minnesota is well on its way to decarbonize energy consumed in production agriculture. I wish to gratefully acknowledge the critical financial support our research teams have received, especially from MnDRIVE, Minnesota Environmental Natural Resource Trust Fund, and the U.S. Department of Energy, ARPA-E. I also wish to acknowledge all of our dedicated research partners across the university and across the nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony and finishing up right on time. I appreciate that. And we are going to have our three members just introduce their names, and so people can know who has come from the new members from our Climate Caucus today.
Sure. I'm Representative Todd Lippert, represent Northfield, Lonsdale, Montgomery areas, District 20B.
Representative Elise Mann, 56B, Burnsville, and Lakeville.
Representative Kali Her, 64A in St. Paul.
Thank you for being here today. We are now going to move on to the University of Minnesota Social Concerns Committee and the University of Minnesota Climate Strike Change. And I just realized we are not on schedule. So hopefully we will get through this part. And I'm just going to do a little management here. to our testifiers, how much time do you need for your presentations?
Between the two of us, we had 8 minutes.
Okay. Let's go. Okay, welcome to the committee, Mr. Fisher and Ms. Wary.
Weary, yeah.
Weary, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Representatives Acomb and Bernardi, for inviting us here to speak today. As I said before, my name is Zach Fisher. I am a senior at the University of Minnesota, majoring in political science and minoring in sociology of law, crime, and deviance. I graduate this spring and intend on attending law school to become an attorney, and I am a newfound member of the UMN Climate Strike and have been a member of the University of Minnesota Social Concerns Committee for a year and a half now. The University of Minnesota Senate is a separate body from the University of Minnesota MSA, the Minnesota Student Association. The University of Minnesota Senate is divided into a subset of committees and is actually made up of students and faculty instead of just a student body. The Social Concerns Committee focuses on the relationship between the university and the community at large, and we try to focus on larger social issues. Some of these examples would be environmental concerns, student health and homelessness, and student immigration issues. I also want to acknowledge these are my personal views, and they do not reflect the views of the Social Concerns Committee or the UMN Climate Strike at large. I joined the University of Minnesota Senate to represent my fellow students and try to make sure that our concerns aren't being swept under the rug consistently. And unfortunately, in my experience, I have to say that is still the case today. Our committee is virtually powerless when it comes to making policy decisions. In many instances, we will send letters to the Board of Regents to advise them on policy decisions or give our opinions on policy decisions, and we often will not even get a response back. The university administration seemingly creates these institutions to make students feel like they have some sort of representation, when in reality, we really don't have any representation or power at the university at all. A great example of this would be how the Board of Regents handled the building name change situation at the University of Minnesota this last year. For those of you who are unaware, last year, President Kaler, a task force of faculty, and many students rallied in support for changing the names of Kauffman Memorial Union and 3 other university buildings due to some racist controversies that the university leaders behind the names had in the past. Even though that the task force found within a 125-page report evidence that all 4 of these members had actively worked to keep black students out of residence halls during their time at the university, the board voted down the name change 10-1. The vote was a slap in the face to every student and faculty member who had worked on this proposal, and it was extremely unsettling to see the inappropriate and out-of-touch response we got from the Board of Regents. The Board of Regents seemingly expected these members to be wearing KKK outfits and walking around with swastikas on their armbands, and to quote, one Board of Regents put it that brown-shirted, white-hooded racists were absent from the report, which was seemingly one of their justifications for the vote. While this does not directly relate to university climate concerns, this incident shows how the students and even faculty to a certain extent do not really have much say in what goes on at the university, and even though we have tried to address our concerns with the climate crisis, we have often felt trapped. Our committee has also taken up environmental concerns as one of our top issues this year, and this fall we hosted a climate forum at the University of Minnesota to discuss some possible solutions that the university could undertake to address the climate crisis. We as students feel that we should not be forced to have to do sit-ins, protests, and rallies just to hear our most basic concerns be heard. We feel that if we are going to be giving our time and money to the university, that we at least deserve some form of representation aside from creating these student bodies that are really powerless at the end of the day. And the university needs to truly start trying to listen to students when it comes to addressing the climate crisis. I'm aware that they are doing things to address the climate crisis, but we feel as students that they could be doing more and should be doing more. And we will not go away. We will continue to fight and do rallies and protests until we feel that our concerns are being actually listened to. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Fisher. Ms. Wary?
Yep, my name is Savannah Weary. I'm a senior at the University of Minnesota studying political science and racial justice and urban schooling. Also graduating this spring and then pursuing a master's of education as I pursue my social studies teaching license. I'm also one of 3 founders of UMN Climate Strike and currently serve as our policy director. We're a local chapter of the Minnesota Youth Climate Strike, which is an intersectional grassroots movement of young people who demand bold action to put an end to the climate crisis. After attending Minnesota Youth Climate Strike's September 20th strike, myself and a few colleagues decided that we needed to bring this action to the University of Minnesota. And in the middle of November, we connected and we began to organize. And on December 6th, we participated in a global strike for climate justice right on campus with only 2.5 weeks to organize between the three of us. And in spite of putting this together so last minute, we still had about 70 students attend, demonstrating just how important climate action is for students on campus at this moment. In 2011, President Kaler implemented the Climate Action Plan with goals of reducing annual greenhouse gas emissions by 50% by 2020 and net zero emissions by 2050, which, while realistic goals, do not address the urgency of the crisis. President Kaler supported sustainability on campus, but such sustainability initiatives focused on individual action and distracted from the power that the university has in making systemic change. I'm sure you're familiar with the campaign of divestment from fossil fuels from the state pension funds at the state level, and maybe are familiar with city and university divestment campaigns around the country and world. The University of Minnesota had another divestment campaign from 2013 to 2016 by a group called Fossil Free Minnesota, so this is not a new ask to the university. Student-led divestment movements like this one demand that university administrations immediately freeze any new investment in the Carbon Underground 200 and to divest their endowment from these companies within 5 years. However, the university has an investment strategy that fails to respect the urgency of climate justice, which has been observed by the lack of support for divestment by President Kaler, the Chief Investment Officer Stuart Mason, the Board of Regents, and the Board of Trustees. As students, we do respect the urgency of climate justice, and our university policies must reflect our values and priorities as students. Climate change will not be stopped by stickers on light switches or organics recycling. We need systemic change to truly make a difference, which is exactly why we're asking for fossil fuel divestment. To make change happen, UMN Climate Strike is bringing together faculty and staff, alumni, the whole university community together to collectively demand action from our university leaders. To quote the U.S. Youth Climate Strikers, climate change strikes hard, but we strike harder. I've shared our Divestment for Regeneration D4R policy plan with you, outlining our 5 main asks of the university, including declaring a climate emergency, developing a climate and environmental justice studies program, disclosing investment information, divesting from fossil fuels, and reinvesting in community-controlled funds. This document breaks down some of these asks a little deeper. Fundamentally, the University of Minnesota's investments reflect its values, speak volumes about its moral character, and model the world it wishes to see and have a hand in building. Considering the University of Minnesota's history as a land-grant institution with a commitment to land stewardship, a history of displacement of folks whose land we stand on, and a history of discrimination and segregation, UMN Climate Strike sees reinvestment as a holistic opportunity for justice, including climate justice, economic justice, racial justice, land justice, and more. It is the responsibility of the university to not stop at divesting from the destruction that is the fossil fuel industry, but to use this as an opportunity toward healing relationships with communities most impacted by climate change and communities that they have left behind. As students, we're in a unique position. In my opinion, which is not a controversial one, students are the most important stakeholder in any university administrative decision. However, we have no electoral power in deciding who these decision makers are. We do not elect our president. We do not elect our regents, but the legislature does. We have no say in who our chief investment officer is, nor who serves as trustees. We have been denied 2 meetings with President Gabel to discuss her stance on declaring a climate emergency. We received a message at 8:30 p.m. the night before our December 6th strike that the president was predisposed and unable to meet before the strike. We requested another meeting for spring semester, receiving a message saying the president was somehow already booked through April, and to try to request a meeting again in early April. While Gabel makes an effort to hear students' voices through utilizing her semester office hours, 2 90-minute blocks with brief 10-minute meeting slots is too short a time to talk policy, strategy, and crisis. And this is unacceptable considering the urgency of the climate crisis. We won't settle for, I'm curious and would love to learn more about that. We won't settle for denied meetings and being circled through administrators, all of whom seem to have someone else who knows the answer. We won't settle for strategic plans with vague goals. We won't settle for, sorry, my hands are tied. We won't settle for bouncing between committees or risk management studies. On behalf of the students of the University of Minnesota, I just want to say we're in a new decade with a new president, and we're demanding new decisions to be made regarding climate action. If the university won't listen to students, maybe they'll listen to you. We need to act now because we're running out of time.
And thank you, Ms. Weary.
Yes.
I wanted to get that right. Thank you for your testimony. And we have another member of our caucus of our committee, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Representative Sandra Mason from 51A, which is most of western Egan, all of northern Burnsville.
Okay. Thank you. And the next on our agenda, we have a presentation organized by the Minnesota Association of Private Colleges. Our first presenter is Rachel Brodier, and she is the Sustainability Coordinator at the College of St. Benedict. Ms. Brodier, welcome to our committee, and please introduce yourself and begin your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Representative Acom. Yes, so I'm Rachel Brodier. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator at the College of St. Benedict, which is up in St. Joseph, Minnesota. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. As a Benedictine institution, the College of St. Benedict, which I'll probably paraphrase as CSB, accepts that all creation is a gift. In exchange, we are expected to care for creation and provide stewardship for the entire community of life on earth. Our commitment to stewardship, by definition, incorporates the principles of sustainability. Our actions should be ecologically sound, socially just, and economically viable today, and should continue to be so for future generations. Since 2010, CSB has had an Office of Sustainability, which has worked hard in putting forth policies, writing plans, and completing sustainability initiatives. The following will just name a few. In 2010, CSB was the first college in Minnesota to ban the sale of plastic water bottles. This was done with those social, environmental, and economic issues in mind. Those are the 3 pillars of sustainability. To allow everyone to have access to clean drinking water, 38 hydration stations were then put in throughout campus to ensure access was not an issue. In 2011, the Gretzky Dining Center, which is the main dining center on campus, went trayless to reduce our food waste from overconsumption. And in the first year, we saw a 25% reduction in food waste. And now in 2019, we were down 65% from that 2011 number. In 2012, the Sustainability Master Plan was written with goals and methods to reach carbon neutrality by 2035. Part of this plan is to conduct a greenhouse gas emissions inventory each year. And one of my student employees has been working on this. In the report that she wrote last year, we've seen an overall decrease by 15% since our baseline in 2013. And that data was from 2018, as the data has not been analyzed for 2019 yet. The students have played a major role in this reduction because of our annual event, Cut the Current, where residence halls go head-to-head to see who can reduce the most energy over a 2-week period. This year, they reduced 15,000 kilowatt hours, which was a 10.2% reduction of total energy, which was, again, compared to a baseline. This competition is done early in the fall semester with the hope that students will continue the practices they learned throughout the year and as they move beyond CSB. In the past few years, our grounds team has created a landscape master plan, which has had a large portion dedicated to native and prairie plantings. So far, 3 acres of lawn have been turned over to native plants, which, as we all know, is better for the environment. This has reduced our greenhouse gas emissions from mowing and has also reduced our water usage as those plants have longer roots. This December, we did apply for a grant with PepsiCo that would allow us to purchase reusable containers for our dining center. This would exchange some of those single-use plastics. This project would hopefully replace close to 18,000 containers and reduce 700 pounds of waste each year. The final project I will touch on is a waste audit we are currently conducting with Waste Management to right-size our dumpsters. This process will reduce the number of dumpsters we have on campus, and we will also be cutting back on the frequency of pickups. This should hopefully encourage waste reduction in the community, and we will see a reduction in our greenhouse gas emissions as there will be less trucks coming onto campus, and it would help maintain our facilities and roads without the frequent pickups. Not only will this audit help us environmentally, but we should also see a major decrease in the cost for waste disposal, which can be reinvested into sustainability initiatives. Looking ahead, we're currently having consulting work done with Evergreen Consulting that will help us determine the next best steps in making our campus more sustainable. This was a grant that we applied for last year for pro bono work with them.
Thank you so much for your time, and I will now pass it over to Joe.
Hi, my name is Joe Bastian. I'm a senior environmental studies student.
Thank you, Joe Bastian, for coming to our committee, and you may testify.
Madam Chair, thank you, Madam Chair and Representative Acomb. My name is Joe Bastian, and I'm a senior environmental studies student at St. John's University. Recently, I, along with 19 other delegates from our two institutions, had the opportunity of attending the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the Conference of the Parties. This conference took place in Madrid, Spain, and was hosted by Chile. In the past, substantial international treaties have come out of the negotiations, such as the Kyoto Protocol and most recently the Paris Agreement. However, COP25 was highlighted by inaction from negotiators as they pushed decisions into next year and protests from much of the participants of COP25. Two of the major protests included a protest march through the heart of Madrid, which included almost 500,000 people, and also a staged walkout of the conference on what was supposed to be the last day. The biggest takeaway that I have from the conference was the educational value that it had for me. Although the conference was plagued by inaction on an international scale, I had the opportunity to see what different organizations and countries around the world were doing about climate change. The most impactful, though, was hearing from indigenous peoples in the Arctic region, which my research centered around while I was there, who are already seeing dramatic change in their daily lives from climate change. And my biggest takeaway came from a conversation that I had with David Boyd, a UN special reporter on human rights in the environment. He explained that we must make change where there are people willing to change, and that's at my university and in Minnesota.
Thank you for your testimony. And Ms. Voss, welcome to the committee.
Madam Chair, my name is Danny Voss, and like my peer, we attended the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. At this moment, I would like to conduct a land acknowledgement to acknowledge the Dakota and Anishinaabe peoples who were and are still traditional stewards of this land. I have come to recognize these people here as well as internationally at the global level while attending this conference and conducting research on climate-exacerbated food insecurity. While we here in the global north have access to talk about these issues, people in the global south are currently facing them. And at this conference, we had the ability to learn, listen, and acknowledge their presence while there was being inaction taken at the global level. I ask that you listen to, that you take into account these frontline communities and take into account that while I am here speaking, I should not be the person in this room. With that, I would like to send the rest of my time over and thank you for listening to us today.
Thank you very much for your testimony today. Appreciate you being here. I'd like to call up to the committee Sasha Lewis Norrell. Yes. All right. And as our testifier is coming up to the committee, we would like to recognize our latest caucus member here.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Thank you. Representative Jim Dabney, District 63A, part of South Minneapolis.
Thank you. Welcome to our committee. Mr. Lewis Norrell, did I get it right?
Lewis Norrell.
No, okay, thank you for coming to our committee today. Look forward to your testimony.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Representative Acomb. Hello, my name is Sasha Lewis Norrell. I'm a junior environmental studies major at McAllister College. Today I'll be speaking on sustainability and action on climate change at McAllister. Originally it was going to be both Dr. Christy Manning and I speaking, but she unfortunately has come down with a fever and was unable to make it. I will share a few of the points that Dr. Manning would have covered concerning the college and its action on carbon neutrality. Dr. Manning is the new director of sustainability at McAllister, and she's also a professor in the Department of Environmental Studies. I'll also talk about my own involvement in climate activism as a student and the various ways McAllister students are engaging with the issue of climate change. Speaking first on McAllister as an institution, we have pledged to achieve carbon neutrality by 2025. In 2009, McAllister created a sustainability office, and under the direction of our former sustainability manager, Suzanne Savannah Hansen, we are well on track to achieve carbon neutrality in our campus operations. Our next challenge is to tackle travel-related emissions. Dr. Manning is also eager to work with the college to think about carbon sequestration projects, such as creating new green spaces and increasing urban tree cover. Our campus is also working to make carbon neutrality and sustainability a part of the curriculum and other educational experiences for all students. As of this year, McAllister created a new position, Director of Sustainability, specifically charged with expanding and deepening curricular connections to sustainability and with a focus on climate justice. We are developing resources to connect courses in every department and discipline to the climate crisis. In some cases, this could be offering a new course. For example, the linguistics department is offering a new course this semester, Language and Climate Change. In other instances, a professor could simply introduce a new unit into an existing course, such as a climate chemistry focused lab taught regularly since 2016 for the class General Chemistry 1, Structure and Equilibrium. Climate themes can also be introduced as singular assignments in a class such as Applied Multivariate Calculus, where a group of faculty have developed homework problem sets around renewable energy calculations. The goal is for every student to have multiple meaningful opportunities to encounter sustainability and climate justice in their time at Macalester. Macalester students also play an active role in moving the campus towards carbon neutrality and climate justice. Students can become involved in campus efforts through many channels. We have climate and sustainability focused jobs in the Sustainability Office, facilities, the Civic Engagement Center, dining services, and the chapel. We have year-round research projects on climate change, for example, working with our climate scientist, Louisa Bradmiller, using ocean sediments to reconstruct past changes in ocean biogeochemistry and nutrient cycling, or research exploring climate anxiety and the mental health impacts of our changing climate, particularly for young people, with Dr. Manning, or working with ceramics professor Summerhills Bonsick on ceramics projects highlighting the climate impacts of materials choices. Another way Macalester students get involved in the climate justice movement is through student organizations. There are a number of student orgs on campus that work to combat climate change and bring about environmental justice and a livable future at a number of levels. Macalester students are involved in a variety of climate justice issues, such as the fight against Line 3, reforming our agricultural system, supporting public transit, expanding renewable energy, and much more. Instead of listing everything we've done or we're doing, or every organization, I'll focus on the 2 student organizations that I personally have been involved in. For the past year and a half, I have worked with Macalester's divestment campaign, Fossil Free Mac, to move the institution to divest from fossil fuels. Historically, Macalester has had $40 million in private oil and gas partnerships, which we at Fossil Free Mac see as unethical and not in alignment with Macalester's core principles. Over the course of a 7-year campaign, which of course involved many cohorts of students as we are only around for 4 years, we crafted a proposal for Macalester to place a moratorium on these investments, allowing for a slow phase out of fossil fuel partnerships from our portfolio. Our campaign has been a long, drawn-out process of leadership development as student leaders graduate and new younger students grow into leadership roles, engagement and outreach to the wider student community, and respectful yet persistent dialogue with the board and administration. By rallying the community around this issue and focusing on respectful dialogue, we were able to get our proposal approved this past October. I also work with the Sunrise Twin Cities chapter, which is currently based out of Macalester. Perhaps you have heard of the Sunrise movement. I have a really cool hat, and the logo is on there. We are a powerful and rapidly growing youth-led climate justice movement fighting to stop the climate crisis and create a more resilient and green economy in the process. Building a green economy will create jobs, good jobs, for millions and stop the climate crisis. The issue of climate change is no longer just an environmental issue. It is an existential crisis facing all of our futures. Young people are going to be particularly impacted, and we're scared. But this is moving us to take incredible action. Believe me, it is only the beginning. We at Sunrise are seeing the number of youth joining the movement rise dramatically. There is a huge wave of interest that is not going away. People are becoming increasingly worried and disappointed in the lack of concrete action that we see. It is great that we are all here today, but acknowledging the issue is not enough. There is so much that needs to change if we are to provide a livable future, a livable planet for ourselves and future generations. We know we have solutions available to us right now. I'll close by saying that we young people know we are in a fight for our lives, our futures, the very air we breathe and the water we drink. And our youth climate justice movement isn't going away. It's time to act. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony today. And then do we have any other members that have just joined us? Okay.
I think everybody's here.
Okay.
Or
Jay.
Jay. No. Representative Lee.
Okay, Representative Zhang has joined us today, and I would rather have had him introduce himself, but I did it for him. So if you'd like to do a better job than I did, because I want to be respectful to you being here. Okay, so we have, I have one testifier on my list for Minnesota State colleges and universities. So if you're both going to testify, we have 5 minutes set aside, and we want to welcome you to the committee. Ms. Hatzer, the Executive Director of Energy Center.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Representative Acom. Thank you for allowing us to testify at this meeting today. I'd like to present Bruce Peterson, my colleague, who is currently the Vice President of Academic Affairs of Minnesota West Community and Technical College. However, he is the former, he stepped away from the executive director of the Minnesota State Energy Center of Excellence, which I am currently the interim director. And so he'll share a little bit of information with your permission as well. I'd like to start off to tell you that, you know, we represent the energy industry and the education aspect side for Minnesota. However, we realize that climate impacts aren't just on energy, they are across all industries. Like we heard certainly about the agriculture from the U of M, manufacturing, engineering, doesn't matter. But we are, for our Energy Center of Excellence, we are a collection of, or a consortium of 2- and 4-year colleges and universities. We kind of are the key for the education and industry partnerships in the state. And with over 70 representatives from the state's major utilities, labor organizations, rural electrics, state agencies, and the K-12 system. We really focus on promoting career awareness and engagement of youth and adults to connect and prepare their skills for energy-related fields. And something I'd like to show, one of the handouts that you have in your packet identifies the list of educational pathways in the state college and university system. And these are primarily focused on the technical fields. There's, you know, from biofuels technology to our typical line workers that we're more familiar with, to solar and renewable energy certificates, all focused with a technical aspect, and it doesn't include the engineering careers from our 4-year universities that are direct impact career fields in the educational pathways. In many of the focus areas that are listed for the pathways and educational programs, climate impacts, energy audits, and the environmental impact are addressed in one form or another throughout every one of the pathways. So if it's agricultural related biodiesel production, let's say, then we'll talk about the impacts on the environment, we'll talk about the impacts the production plant itself. With ethanol, with any of our production plants, we're looking at emissions and advancements in emissions technology to reduce our our carbon footprint on the planet. So with that, something that I thought was absolutely fabulous for our committee members to be aware of is that the energy systems just made it on the Minnesota Department of Education career path wheel this particular November. And so for the first time, we'll be able to see some pathways in our K-12 systems that maybe haven't been there, energy academies, and focus on the solar, focus on renewable energies, wind technology throughout the state. So, and with that, I would like to mention to the committee that a couple of the concerns that I would share with you is that, you know, we really want to focus on the green footprint. We want these renewable education opportunities, but our metro area potential students don't have easy access to the college programs that we have within our state. And so that's a big issue. And I'd like to emphasize that our industry partners as well are very, very interested in diversifying the workforce. Every industry is in our state, doesn't matter which, but certainly our energy folks and the bigger, larger utilities. We also have a number of initiatives with our center, and increasing awareness of energy career related industries is a big thing. And like I said, I believe that that career wheel tap into our education system will be a big purpose. We have been awarded a, 3 years ago, we're going to finish up here in May, we've been awarded a $5.5 million renewable development grant from Xcel Energy, and we awarded 10 different projects, which will come to completion and dissemination at the end of May this year. And we also have collaboration at the national level and also in the Great Lakes regional area so we keep our activities known, what's going on in Minnesota, across the nation, and we're recognized as the Minnesota model.
Thank you for your testimony today. And I do see Mr. Peterson up there, and we have like 30 seconds left.
Okay,
And so
I'll be real
if you would
quick,
like to
if I can.
testify, I want to respect
Yes.
you being here. Thank you.
We did pass out some of these. This is last year's report on all of the centers of excellence from our Minnesota state system. Yesterday, someone forwarded a question about, are we getting involved in electric fleets and buses and so on, and our transportation center has a footprint in that area. So it's not just the energy center that's involved in energy-related projects as well. We have had a strong mission about making energy visible, which, as we all know, it's invisible. We all walk in and we flip a light switch on, we plug in our devices, we take energy for granted. So a big challenge for us has been getting young people aware of the energy industry. We have a strong outreach program where we actually go out and teach classes in high schools about renewable energy. This past 4 months, we have had classes for over 1,500 high school kids to teach them about solar and wind energy. So that's a very big initiative for us that's growing very quickly across our system. So, but you can see highlights of all of our centers of excellence if you take a few minutes. This was last year's legislative report. You may have already seen it, but a good one to go back and review. So, thank you.
Thank you very much for being here today. Our next, next on the docket, we have a presentation from Minnesota 3050. Minnesota 3050 unites Minnesotans as part of a global movement to end the pollution damaging our climate, speed the transition to clean energy, and create a just and healthy future for all. With us, we have Dr. Steve Jorseson from Minnesota 350 and the University of St. Thomas. Welcome to our committee, and please begin your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Representative Echolm. I am Steve Jorseson, representing MN 350, and adjunct professor of chemistry at the University of St. Thomas. As you can see in my handout, I have a number of measures that the university has taken to reduce carbon emissions on campus with some very good results so far and some aggressive goals. But as many of the testifiers today pointed out, another area that colleges and universities can really move the needle on assuring a livable climate for future generations is how do we prepare our next generation of leaders in all sectors of society to address the climate crisis. And that's where the Sustainable Communities Partnership at University of St. Thomas comes in. It engages students in multi-year partnerships with cities and government agencies to advance the partners' sustainability goals. The projects are integrated into existing courses. They've used 100 different courses to have students participate in this, over 25 different disciplines. So it's not just science and engineering, it's English, it's art, it's political science. All these different disciplines play a role in addressing the climate crisis. The big advantage, of course, for students is they get firsthand real-world experience in working with communities, working with government agencies. What type of hurdles do they run into in working with them? How do they get these projects put together, implemented, and working directly with the city workers? A couple of great examples that have come out of this program is a project with the city of Delano to improve their energy efficiency. They looked at the energy use, especially in public buildings and streetlights, and put together a proposal for changing out to LED light bulbs and programmable thermostats, and you can see some huge savings there. Very surprising to the city. In working with cities, one of the issues they come up with is the personnel and resources to do these type of upfront studies. So when a college student or a group of college students can come together and do this for them, it's a win-win for the students and the city and for the college. So it's a win-win-win. And so that's the city of Delano has, and they presented this to the city council. They had the experience of standing in front of a city council and doing that presentation, and with the potential of cutting emissions there as well. The second project was with the Met Council, looking at gaps in the tree canopy. They took satellite imagery of the metro area, looked at where there's trees, where there's a lot of pavement and large buildings that kept the trees away. And then they overlaid that with a temperature map that also looked at hot days, where it was hottest, where they could find heat islands and saw the correlation between the lack of tree canopy and heat islands, and then overlaid that with a socioeconomic map to see where residents may have difficulty getting air conditioning and so forth. And they put all that together and addressed some areas of high concern in a number of different cities, and brought those results to the with the Met Council to those cities. So again, and that was the environmental studies group. And the third project I'll mention was with Met Council on a very important one: how to communicate climate vulnerability and climate action in different communities, how to frame the climate argument differently for rural communities, urban communities, suburban communities, they did, in order to get buy-in from these different communities. And it was a very well-written report. Of course, it was the English department there. So it was brought to the Met Council, and they'll be using that widely within the metro and outstate. And for how the legislature can help with these. Now the project, the SCP project, the Sustainable Communities Partnership Project at the University of St. Thomas is fully funded. It has the luxury of being able to operate and work with these cities. Not every college in the state has that luxury. So appropriating additional funds for these types of programs to get students out of the classroom into the cities, getting real world experience and how to do climate mitigation with these cities. And lastly, for getting students directly involved with the legislative process, if this body could get partnerships with schools to bring students in to see how this process is done, see how bills are passed, what type of hurdles you run into, that would also be a benefit for both the legislature and the schools. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony today and for being here. And thank you to all the testifiers that were here today. And I especially, being the higher education chair, want to do a shout out to the students for being here. Your voices are very important, and we thank you.
And I will just echo that. And again, thank you all for being here. We could have spent a lot more time on each and every one of your presentations, and I apologize for the short time. But I do appreciate your information and your presence here today. It's really important. And also to acknowledge that really one of the reasons that the Climate Action Caucus started in the House was really the passion and engagement by youth. And so do know that your being here and being involved is important, and we want to be partners with you. And so with that, we're going to kind of transition to questions at this point. And I'm going to start out with one that I had, and then we'll go to members as they come up with questions. Lindy will start a list. But my question is to Jessica Gutnick about the soil health. And you talked about the example of Kernza and that there are some, it's being applied in different areas, and that there have been very kind of deliberate markets that have been set up in order to kind of establish that and make it a risk that farmers are willing to get involved in. And so I'm wondering, are there other products that you're looking to also set up in a similar way? And are you partnering not only with farmers, but with businesses to ensure that there is a market, and also with practitioners, soil and water conservation districts, local governments, to help these be successful so that farmers and producers are willing to take that risk and make that change?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And am I?
You're good. Yeah.
And for additional products, like specifically with regard to Kernza?
Or with other
crops.
Right, other crops.
Yeah, we are. I work a lot with the Forever Green Initiative at the University of Minnesota, if you're familiar with them. I know they come down here quite often.
Yep.
So, and I wanted to come as, as a resource from soil quality expertise, and not necessarily just to talk about Forever Green, but yeah, the whole Forever Green portfolio is working actively on the products across a portfolio of winter hardy cover crops and perennial crops. Definitely, yeah, we know the reality that we have to get things out in markets for them to be successful, because we really, at the heart of the Forever Green mission is to make sure that farmers are also successful and that these are economically viable solutions. We know that if that's not true, these things won't get out on the landscape. And so that's at the heart of everything that we do. And then specifically with regard to Kernza, which is the crop that I actually do research on, I'm in the midst of a report, for example, to one of our partners, General Mills. And so we partner very closely with huge industry like General Mills to a lot of great local businesses like Bang Brewing, the Birchwood Cafe. There are a couple of other breweries. Breweries are becoming very interested in this product. And so, yeah, we really, want to partner with anyone who wants to work with us, really. So, yep. And for example, and actually, here's two other quick examples. So we do partner with many, many different groups. One of the very successful events at Carmen's Place last summer brought together all of these people. We had this huge field day in this new planting, and we had researchers, we had local community members, we had people from General Mills, we had people from the Birchwood Cafe, Tracy was there. So we had many people from many, many sectors all having a great time together all afternoon. That's great. And we also do partner with the local municipalities as well. One of the pictures I showed was from an outplanting in a wellhead protection area. And so, I'm here today to talk about climate solutions, but this is a very powerful water quality solution as well. Absolutely. And we've gotten support from the LCCMR, and we helped host a large gathering this Tuesday of people working on water quality from many different angles across the state with the municipal water quality protection organizations. Sorry, forgetting the name. Anyways, so we're working from all of those angles that you asked about.
Great.
Actually.
Well, I appreciate that. And I think the more work that can be done proactively, that can only make it a less risky risk. So
yeah, exactly. But we need, like I said, we do it out of passion and willpower. And I think we need more support than that.
Yeah, great. Agreed.
Thank you very much.
All right, so moving on with questions, I think Rep. Chair Bernardi has a question.
Right, and if you could put me on the bottom of the list now, because I have another question I want to ask. But I want to be respectful to our other members, so I'll ask the first question first. The University of Minnesota is doing a new strategic plan, and I know that the president has made clear in a lot of her speeches that how I've taken it is that she really wants to look at how we do the synergy between our great research university and the needs of our state, and how do we mesh those. And she's much more articulate than I am. And so I wanted just to ask, how is the University of Minnesota addressing the climate crisis in this new strategic plan?
Everyone's going to look at me for that one. I'll just say intersections up front, although President Gable says it better. Climate change, I think, plays an important role. So you'll hear the president refer to being inspired by Minnesota to have global impact. And so although we're at the level, I would say, of developing specific goals and action steps to get there in the strategic planning process, having now gone through commitments and goals are just being socialized now. My office, in fact, when I started, took 3 strategic priorities. One of them is addressing sustainability in the face of global climate change. So every budget decision I make, that informs me, and I'm informing the strategic plan. But the intersection goals, one of them is, in fact, around the environment and sustainability. So I fully expect to see that fleshed out across the state to address these kinds of issues. Another, of course, is healthcare, and at the intersection between climate change and healthcare. As was articulated, it tends to be marginalized populations that are most affected by climate change, and that's often in the area of healthcare. That's going to be an important priority as well.
Thank you. And we're going to continue on with our list. And also, we'll open it up to the audience for questions after that if there are people. So you can give it a little thought as we're continuing on here. Representative Hausman, next, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I just want to commend the University of Minnesota Morris. I've had the occasion to be on your campus a number of times, and know that you were at the forefront. I mean, you were, that campus was leading the way for the state and accomplished things long before we were even talking about it here. And so I just think we want to lift up the work that's been done for a very long time at the University of Minnesota Morris. And then a question for Dr. Kramer. We know that the transportation sector is one of the greatest contributors to our climate issue. And so cars and planes are something we should use less, and public transit and intercity passenger rail we should use more. The Transportation Center at the University of Minnesota, I didn't hear any reflection of that in the presentation. And I've sometimes worried that their research is still too focused on roads as opposed to public transit and passenger rail. We need leadership and we need research. We trail our economic competitors in investment in both of those. And intercity passenger rail, we gave back federal money when states like Kansas and Texas were happily accepting it. So we desperately need more research, more voices, and more leadership. And I just didn't know if you've had conversation there to know whether we might expect new directions.
Chairs Aiken, Bernardi, and thank you very much for that question. The Center for Transportation Studies reports to me, so I speak to Lori McGinnis, the director, on a very regular basis and attend many of their functions. You raise critical points, and I think the center takes very seriously its ability to make progress on issues of transit, and also, I would say, on issues of vehicle electrification. So this is one way to potentially address and mitigate transportation's effects on climate change, because if we have renewable sources for electricity and we have electrical vehicles, now we've potentially removed some of that carbon footprint. And so there are efforts on vehicle electrification, both on the technology side as well as the policy side being looked at. There's a substantial effort that is looking into sort of the sharing economy, which has impacts here as well. And transit in general has informed a lot of work on bikeways within the Twin Cities, for instance, in greater Minnesota, looking at working with industry to sort of, optimize transportation routes for delivery. And some of the members of the Executive Council actually represent industries throughout Minnesota addressing that. So I think they are paying close attention to this. I'd actually love to have a chance to give you more information about that and maybe schedule that.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to follow up on that. Thank you, Representative Acom. One of the things, and I want to be in on that meeting too, please, because one of the very most important ways in which we can move in our state that's carbon-free, it's very healthy, is walking and biking. And our transportation system often creates barriers, and even to use the most, the best modes of transportation, transit, it's not even easy to get to transit. So I know the Center for Transportation Studies has been involved in some of that research, but I just want to make sure that's emphasized, if at all possible.
Thank you, Chair Bernardi. That last mile problem is a really important one. So happy to schedule you in too.
Thank you. Next, we have Representative Vang.
Thank you. I have two separate questions. I'm not sure who to direct this question, the first question, but I think Vice President Kramer, this first question is for you. Is there currently a collaboration or partnership with working the watershed districts, with the watershed districts? I think that in speaking in terms of soil and water mitigation, I think watershed districts presents a much more effective and localized solution towards mitigation. And even though the U of M, it may not be immediate task or urgent task for the U of M to consider mitigation around their area, I think the U can be a model in terms of, utilizing all the tools to combat and adapt to climate change. And so if there is a partnership, that's great. If there's not, I hope that the U will consider putting that as part of the strategic planning process. And then my second question is for the students. We heard a lot from students. I sit on the higher ed committee, and so we definitely want to put your voices at the forefront and about and we heard from you guys about having a voice in the regent selection process. And so in your testimony, you mentioned that, that to give more students more agency in things like the sustainability plan or investment profiles. How do you want that involvement to look like? And so, Vice President Kramer, if you want to answer the first question, sure, go ahead and
Happy to.
Yeah.
Chairs Aiken Bernardi, Representative Vang. So I don't think we have what I would call a standing organization that meets regularly with all the watershed districts. We certainly have ongoing work with many of the individual districts that may be associated with an individual faculty member's work. I know Professor Abbas, who I mentioned earlier in my presentation, is doing some work looking at novel materials that can remove contaminants from water in a certain district in western Minnesota. And we also have the Minnesota Geological Survey, which interfaces with watershed districts extensively. And finally, the Minnesota Technical Assistance Project, I believe, which is housed at the university, also engages with them. Those tend to be organic, I guess I would say. So I'm happy to take under advisement the idea that we could look at a more institutionalized structure. Thank you.
Yeah, and then responding to the second question, I personally have like the investment perspective and then the like regent election perspective regarding like the investment portfolios and investment information. That information is not public to students. And in talking with the chief investment officer at the university, the U is not subject to the Freedom of Information Act, the federal policy, but it is subject to Data Practices Act, the Minnesota one. And so I think I personally am frustrated in that the endowment is made up of student tuition, taxpayer dollars, and donations, and that information of where that money is being invested isn't public to those who have money that is being invested. And so I think as far as legislation, that looking at the Data Practices Act of what, as a public institution, what investment information should be public and accessible to students is something personally that I have with that. And then regarding the regents elections, I think that I don't know exactly what the process looks like at the legislature for electing the Board of Regents, but having student voices present in that space to at least talk about what students are looking for in regents and decisions and policy that students care about. Just because as a student, it's very frustrating to have absolutely no say in how those policies that the regents make are made, and then having administrators tell us that their hands are tied because of regent policy. So some sort of collaboration, maybe with some sort of student committee that could participate in that election process. But yeah, just having student voices present in that kind of front end of selecting regents, if the regents themselves won't listen to student voices.
Thank you for that. Next, we have on the list Representative Morrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are blessed in Minnesota with an abundance of fresh water, but we've recently learned that more than half of our water is compromised. And I'm curious, given the threat to fresh water that climate change presents, I didn't hear anything about the threat that sulfide mining in our state presents to both our water and our health. And I would love to hear from one of the student leaders if you have a perspective on that.
I can speak to this. So I'll speak to the perspective that while it impacts health, who it impacts the most is Native health in our communities. Currently, Line 3 is a pipeline that crosses Indigenous territories, and that is an injustice. And as a part of that, students, while we have acted up in protest to Line 3, it is important to recognize that those whose health are most impacted is women, children, and people, and Indigenous women. So with that, it's important for, can you repeat the last part of your question? Sorry.
Well, I'm wondering specifically about sulfide mining.
Yeah.
Line 3 also does impact our American Indian communities disproportionately. sulfide mining does as well, but it will impact all of us because of the risk of contamination with heavy metals into our water, as well as the acidification of our water with sulfuric acid. I just, given the importance of water to human health and given the fact that climate change will impact it, and I didn't hear any of you address it. I was just curious if you
I
had
can speak
that.
to sulfide mining. So I'm originally from Wisconsin, and the summer after my freshman year, I worked with the Wisconsin Sierra Club Junior Chapter and did a project on sulfide mining in Wisconsin because at that time, the Wisconsin legislature was trying to end a moratorium on sulfide mining, and a lot of the policy that I took from was from Minnesota and work that they had done towards sulfide mining. And so that's not something that we currently have like as UMN specific things because we're focusing on university specific action. But that as far as the climate crisis, that is something that is completely relevant and that I think the arguments in favor of like job production when it comes to mining are not valid ones in that they're not going to be sustainable over time and that that is definitely something for students to include in our and same with being a part of the Minnesota Youth Climate Strike and policies that they're pushing, something that I would like to also include in our long-term planning too, is to address that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If I may, I know you asked the students for questions, but one thing that I did not have time for in my 5 minutes about agriculture was one of the pictures of myself researching that I showed was from a large climate change experiment in peatland in northern Minnesota. And I know you've asked about, we've spoken about pipelines and mining, but actually our northern peatlands that feed into our waterways are housing huge amounts of mercury and sulfur as well from past coal burning. And I am part of a team at the University of Minnesota working at this large climate change experiment that's where the infrastructure is funded by the Department of Energy, but we're partnering with the U.S. Forest Service and other environmental chemists at the University of Minnesota looking at, when these peatlands heat up, what happens to that sulfur and mercury? Will we create even worse problems inadvertently because of climate change? So that's other work that's going on at the university.
Thanks a lot.
Yep.
Thank you. That's very. Next, we have Representative Mason.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, first of all, when I was on the Egan Parks Commission, we started doing the water quality and a number of other things, including a trail system. So way back when, we were trying to do, we had started that. And then in 2005 or 2006 is when I first heard Will Steger personally talking about where he wanted us all to start taking personal responsibility for climate change. And he had, at that point, I think a 2-year time frame in mind. Again, 2005, 2006. And maybe a half a dozen years later, there was another presentation, and he had some really amazing photos of the glaciers that had been melting. And, the point I'm trying to make here is we've had a long time to work on this, and it has been really encouraging and comforting to hear all the testimony today. So I know that some work is being done, and even when I came originally into the legislature, we had passed some really good legislation around 2007, 2008, and then it truly depends who's in charge, because then people that came afterwards that were in charge did away with half of the stuff that we did. And what I find really incredibly concerning right now is what's happening at the federal level, where they are totally ignoring climate change and trying to say this is wrong, but that it's not happening. So I guess my question is, all of you are doing fantastic work, but the bigger problem is, how do we get some leaders at the higher levels to truly acknowledge what happened and take action? Because there are a lot of us at the table here. We've been doing what we can. If you look at our votes, we've been there. But it truly depends. How do we get the leadership that is going to be consistent till we get this solved? And that's open to anybody.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your question, Representative. I think the old adage think globally and act locally comes into play. And one thing that we are doing in Morris is the university participated in the Morris model. And we developed a strategic plan within the community. We had 30 members of the community, including members from the public school system, the city of Morris, the county, and businesses come together to develop goals and projects that would address climate change and others. And for example, the goals are very aggressive. We want to produce 80% of the energy within our county by 2025. We want to reduce energy consumption 30% by 2025. And we want to eliminate landfilling of waste by 2025. So, I think that's one way. Morris is a conservative community, even though the campus is there. And so our message is, my message is to my conservative peers, we need to quit denying climate change, and we need to start asking what are the solutions and what amount of money are we going to pay for that? Because we do that with difficult topics, whether it's healthcare, education, infrastructure. We debate on how much money we're going to pay for these important things, and there's a balance. And so I think our Morris model effort, for example, we had a E85 challenge month in December, where we increased the consumption of E85 in our community 25%. And the point is that trying to convey to farmers as well that climate change and these goals can benefit, I shouldn't say climate change can benefit you, but these goals can benefit you as we work towards mitigating climate change. And I hope that message ripples out from communities like Morris and communities across the state that are acting locally, and then gets up to the leadership levels. Thank you.
Thank you. And as I said, I am so impressed with what's going on. So it's that I think we can take heart that something is being done.
I also just wanted to add, I think, an emphasis on elections and voting and voter registration. And we're really good about it here in Minnesota, but that I think in Wisconsin, I know the youth vote was only about 12% of people between the ages 18 and 25 that actually showed up to vote. And that when more people participate, I think that it would be more reflective of in our federal government to take action.
Good point. And I think Sasha wanted to add to the conversation too.
Yeah, just kind of talking about getting the more national level to take action on things like this. So as I mentioned before in my presentation, I am part of the Sunrise Movement, and we champion a Green New Deal both at the local and national level. And we have also been working on the climate strikes and working on just getting people out and showing their support for fighting climate change. And one of the big aspects of that is kind of bringing all these people together to show the people in power that you can't ignore us anymore. So for so long, these people in power have been listening to corporations who have money and are giving them money, and are ignoring the real life impacts that so many people are already facing and are going to be continuing to face. And so by mobilizing as many people as possible around the entire country, both in voter registration and also in climate strikes, and continuing, even if we were to get an extremely progressive president in 2021, we have to continue to put on the pressure to make sure that climate change is still like one of the main issues that we are facing or working on, because it is really a fight for our lives. And so that is another way that we are trying to tackle this issue at a national level.
Thank you. And next we have Representative Lippert.
Thank you, Representative Acom. So I have a question for, two questions actually. The first is for Mr. Reese. So I was very interested in the pie chart on the fossil fuel footprint of corn. And I'm curious about whether there are conversations happening or research happening about how to reduce, improve efficiency related to corn drying at elevators and individual farms, or help farmers and co-ops transition to renewable energy as we think about reducing corn's footprint.
Madam Chair, thank you for your question, Representative. Well, our approach, as I mentioned in the testimony, is to displace natural gas and propane used in grain drying with renewably produced anhydrous ammonia. that we produce from wind energy. Like I said, we're essentially trying to bottle wind energy and use it for other sources. As far as the efficiency, I think there's been a lot of progress with grain dryers and other systems like that through programs like the USDA REAP program, where farmers can get energy efficiency grants as well as low-interest loans to help defer some of those costs. And again, our approach is to reduce fossil energy consumption in agriculture. So we're pursuing the whole suite of technologies to be able to do that: energy efficiency, renewable energy, and for quite a while, or in the past, the energy that's being consumed in farms is known at the upper level, but it hasn't been drilled down into, and that's some of the work we're doing as well. So we understand, and the pie chart that you're referring to is one of those efforts. We understand how much energy is going into corn production, where the energy, individual energy loads are coming from, and then we're trying to reduce that as much as possible. So again, I think that our approach 5, 10 years, maybe 20 years down the road to displace natural gas and propane is the transformative approach, and that I think farmers in general want to make their systems much more efficient because that translates to their profitability.
Thank you. I have a question about nitrogen. I'll find you offline a little bit later. But I do have one question for Vice President Kramer. So the state supports research in a variety of ways, especially through the LCCMR and Renewable Development Fund. I'm curious if you have thoughts about very important directions of research related to climate, things that we could be prioritizing as we are partnering with higher education in this work.
Thank you for that question. I do think that the state is making important investments that we're fortunate to be able to take advantage of through those programs. And the more general state investment of the higher education budget, some of that goes into research because research is teaching. And we are focusing some of it on climate-related issues. I don't know that I would pick out a particular spot that, wow, here's a place that's been hopelessly underinvested in. I think there are opportunities to make further investments in our use of natural resources, renewable resources. So I've mentioned NRRI at Duluth once or twice at this stage, and I think they're doing outstanding work in many cases in connection with industry in sort of adding extra value to wood products that might not have been high value in the past, to mining opportunities that are more accessible and have mitigatable risks associated with them. That would be a good area. And I'll just say personally, I actually think the University of Minnesota as a whole should be looking more at battery research. It's an area we just don't have many people, and I keep telling all my colleagues who I can corral somewhere, we should be spending more attention on batteries, and I hope they hear that message. But it requires us to have the personnel, really, before we can use the money. So that's a longer range goal.
Great, thank you.
Right next, we have Representative Bernardi.
Thank you. At this higher education chair, we write a bill for operations and maintenance, and it just makes me think of the opportunity of our Minnesota state system and the University of Minnesota of becoming leaders in operation as it relates to climate. How do you see that? Do you see that it could happen, and what kind of partnership could we play in helping to make that happen? And I don't know who is up here from Minnesota State that wants to address that, but University of Minnesota as well.
Well, I can try and give a shot for that more from a local level, but significant efforts are going on all of our campuses to reduce the electrical consumption. As examples, replacing lighting systems and so on with LEDs, and also reducing our waste. So that's going on as part of our facility operations budgets as they exist in today's world. I think it's something that could definitely be accelerated if we could get some seed money to push those efforts stronger, because we're doing them out of our operations budgets for the most part at this point in time.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that. My name is Shane Stennis. I'm the Director of Sustainability for the university. I work a lot on the operational questions and issues, and also wanted to note I'm a constituent of Representative Herr, so happy to be here today, and a proud graduate of College of St. Benedict and St. John's University. I would say, sort of to emphasize some points that Vice President Kramer had made earlier, and my colleague from Minnesota State System had talked about, that a lot of our operations already are leaders among Big Ten schools, among other large institutions across the country in terms of embedding energy efficiency and operational effectiveness and excellence into how we build facilities and how we operate them. I think the ways that the legislature can partner on this are, we have forwarded a large HEPA request the last several years. When we use those HEPA dollars, we're often investing in projects that enhance and accelerate energy efficiency initiatives above and beyond our own capital sort of contributions and capacity. And so the more that we can put in that bucket and the more that we can drive investments in HEPA, the more that we're going to move that curve and accelerate the curve around making our facilities more efficient. As Vice President Kramer pointed out in his remarks, we have a number of buildings already on the university campuses, 250 alone in the Twin Cities campus, 400 system-wide. We expect that most, if not all, of those facilities will continue to be ours by 2050. So if we want to have a carbon-neutral future, we need to make those facilities much more energy efficient in order to be able to supply them with renewable energy effectively. So I would say that that is sort of the top priority for the university, and I think is a real key.
Thank you.
Next, we have Representative Christensen.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Representative Acom. And thank you to the presenters, to all of you. I'm just going to make a few statements about bright lights that I saw in some of the folks that talked today at the hearing. First of all, thank you for talking about divestment and how we are investing, the state in particular, how the state is investing in the fossil fuel industry as opposed to the clean energy industry. So I think that's something that's very important that we need to address, and we need to learn about. We need to know where the investments are going. So thank you for bringing that up. That's important. Also, I would like to reiterate about battery storage and how much we need to look into that, and that's going to be an answer to many of our problems, I think, in the future. So I want to say kudos to that. I'm on the Education Policy Committee, I'm also a retired teacher. So thank you to the MNSCU people about, providing career pathways for folks. I'm very interested in the education K-12 area of introducing more and more and more career pathways for kids in high school as opposed to only 4-year degrees. So thank you for doing that. I do have a question about where, I see a lot, we're in Rosemont, we have Fond du Lac Tribal in Cloquet, Grand Rapids, Baudette, Wadena. I'm wondering, are there barriers to St. Paul College isn't included in there. I'm just wondering why most of the programs that you have listed here are outstate, and are there barriers to getting those programs into some of the urban schools? Thank you.
I would say that some of those programs have been at our inner city schools, but right now, just because of changing dynamics at the various institutions and lack of enrollments in many cases, which goes back to my comments about making energy visible so we can get more students enrolled. So we are working actually with several groups in the metro area about additional programming. And I can highlight XL Energy as a partner in this because they've recognized that they need to be finding ways to train their local workforce locally and also to diversify their workforce. So we are doing a fair amount of work in St. Paul and Minneapolis high schools right now to start building that funnel of interest. Century College on our northeast corner of the metro has taken a strong stance, especially in the renewable energy areas. Again, a challenge for us to attract enough students to make it viable is going on, but we're working on other strategies and working into the high schools to try and bring that up. We have a number of energy academies that have started in the last 3 years in high schools around the metro, and we're again hoping that will continue to grow. And then as we create that interest and create the job market in cooperation with industry, we'll see more of that come back to the inner city schools.
Okay, thank you. And I do think you've got it nailed, that it needs to start not only in K-12, but the cross-curricular stuff that a few of you talked about, making sure that we're talking about energy and climate across curriculum, that it's not only in science class that we're talking about it. And that includes elementary then too also. So, you know, you do need to find the funnel, where to start funneling. And, you know, we're fairly new. This is the first time a committee has used the word climate in their title. So we're still pretty young. So I think we have a long way to go. And, you know, we're moving really quickly, and I'm very proud of that. So thank you for all of you for that. Thanks.
Okay, so we've got a few questions left, and I wanted to see if there's by show of hands in the audience, if there are those people that might have questions from the audience. So a few of us. Okay, so we've got about 15 minutes. Let's keep that in mind. We've got a few House members, and then we'll go to audience. Representative Herr.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation today. So I've been doing a lot of work. I was at COP25, saw St. Ben students there at the panel that I was at. They were amazing. I do just want to say that a lot of times we do our work, we legislate people, right? We're trying to change consumer behavior. And I find that that's problematic because institutions are the ones that create the structure and where individual choice happens. And so, and every time we try to legislate, if we legislate at the institution level, they just pass whatever cost to them on to consumers. And I feel like we're in this never-ending cycle of actually trying to make the right changes. So what I love that all of the universities are here, and I wondered, when we talked a little bit about this earlier, but about the collaboration of all the higher ed institutions, because the power behind institutions changing, which then creates the structural change and where individuals are making choices, that actually I think is more effective than asking individual people and trying to change individual student behavior on campus. So I'm curious as to, I would love to and highly encourage everyone to see how, and I missed the earlier part of the presentation, so if you are already all doing this, great, just let me know. But I would really highly encourage that all of the higher ed institutions, whether you're a two-year, you're a private, you're a public institution, that you all work together on saying, what does it mean when institutions themselves are forcing software companies to change the way they distribute? When institutions themselves are changing the way hauling happens at every institution versus individual institutions working through those issues themselves. And so I would just maybe like to hear sort of if there's any plans around doing something like that, because that's really important. And then the other thing is that I did just want to touch on the students around the student regent process. I would say disrupt the process, right? Because they come to us lobbying to the legislators on why they should be the person that we vote for. So you all can get the same list and go to those people and say, what is your commitment to climate change? And if they don't have a commitment, then you all come to us and lobby against those individuals, like disrupt that process.
Yeah.
So I would love to see that, and if there's any assistance that you all may need to really understand that process and work with us on that, I would love to figure out how we can do it to make sure that climate change and climate justice specifically is something that individuals who are coming onto the Board of Regents understands, and then you can hold them accountable for saying, you made a commitment to us in this, we're not seeing you make that commitment through the Board of Regents. So I'm just putting that out there for all of you as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Did you want to respond to her?
Yeah, just a quick comment. So I wanted to highlight some work that we're doing at the University of Minnesota, partnering actually with the corporate sector in trying to engender the kind of change and encourage systematic change on the part of other vendors, corporations, and suppliers. So we're part of something called the Minnesota Sustainable Growth Coalition, which is a collection of 30 of Minnesota's leading organizations really focused on building a circular economy in Minnesota and trying to facilitate the transition of our economy from one that's sort of take, make, and waste to one that is continuously circulating inputs and outputs together. Core to that is the idea that we're going to be 100% clean energy future. You can't have a circular economy without 100% clean energy. And so we've joined with our partners at General Mills and 3M and Target and Best Buy and others to participate in a number of public processes to engage and encourage the adoption of new rules or to undertake new activities. So just two case in point, we filed a letter of support around the Clean Cars initiative that the PCA is going through regulatory rulemaking right now. And then the other piece that we just recently did this week was filed a letter with MISO, the Midwest system operator for energy wholesale markets, And one of the things that we know about renewable energy transitions is we're getting transmission constrained. We're actually not able to get renewable energy from the places it's produced to the markets where it's consumed. And so one of the keys is building out more transmission infrastructure across the region so we can get wind energy from the plains, we can get solar energy from other parts of the state and other parts of the country to the sort of urban core and center where there's a lot of energy demand. And so we just recently filed a letter with MISO to encourage them to undertake and think really aggressively about climate change, around electrification, and around renewable energy deployment as they go through their transmission planning processes. So just one way in which that, we're, as a university, trying to do what you suggest, join with other organizations to band for bigger systematic changes. And I think that that's what you heard from a lot of the presenters today, is sort of the underlying thread is we need systems change. Right? We need systems change in transportation. We need systems change in energy systems. And we can individually do a great deal, but in order for this to benefit the entire state and the globe and the country, we really need sort of that broad-based change in the underlying economic structures that we currently have.
Sure, quickly if you can.
And I see the individual all working with others, but I mean all of the universities working together. And because how many students do we have within all the university systems? Hundreds of thousands?
Yeah.
And so there's a huge power behind it. So instead of you working with just other institutions, all of the universities working together to say, whatever change we're making for one, we can leverage each other's work to say that then we can all benefit from this system versus, the you working with some of these other entities. All of you can benefit from each other's work and actually force changes to happen faster across the state versus in a region or in an area for just one university.
And I think that's something that students are talking across universities, especially regarding the divestment movement, and that we're struggling because the administrators are the ones who are making that decisions, and we want to see that systemic change. And I think that peer institutions, especially between the state system and U of M system, if we pressure each other to make change, then we'll move it forward.
Great. And Representative Sondel, you go next, please.
Thanks, but I'd rather hear questions from the audience. Thank
Okay. In fact, let's do a few questions from the audience. And if you want to come up to the desk, Susie, why don't you go up to the microphone so everybody can hear you? This is a big room, and so the acoustics aren't always the best. And let's try to be as quick as we can, so succinct questions and succinct answers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Susie Nicassi, and I'm on the City Council in Northfield, Minnesota. Thank you so much for this conversation and the existence of this caucus. I have a tongue-in-cheek question, but it's an intro to an overture. The tongue-in-cheek question for my my friends and leaders in the educational realm and the students is, why would the University of Minnesota campus system pay $5 million to wrap a train that says the University of Colorado connector when that train does not connect to the University of Colorado? That's my tongue-in-cheek question. And I say it because I'd like to ask that I'm speaking to a theme that came up here earlier, and it's the one theme that simultaneously addresses the vitality and competitiveness of our college system, equity, climate action, and the economic development and survival of rural Minnesota. And that theme is transportation. And I want to tap off to my friend Alice Hausman, who's been leading that charge. The university, I don't know whether this is anywhere on your radar, but Minnesota's Department of Transportation has approved a plan that includes 8 regional passenger rail corridors on existing rail infrastructure that connect all 5 systems, all 5 campuses, 6 campuses, 5 campuses of the University of Minnesota, and most and many of the community college. Is there, my question to you, besides my tongue-in-cheek one, in southern Minnesota, as you know, we have no regional transportation. The kids in my town have graduated, lower income and income challenged kids are graduating at 100% of high school, getting into college, and they can't get to college because they don't have cars. And we have no public transportation. We have a rail line that connects Dallas, Texas to Duluth on continuous rail infrastructure. It is approved for study, and there's a bill that Alice has been wise, House File 1493, and there's a Senate file that would fund the study of that corridor, and that could be the heartbeat of the regional revival of regional transportation. Would this committee consider, this is my question, a follow-up conversation about the intersection of transportation planning and regional connections to revitalize our state economy and our campuses using what we've got. Would you consider such a subcommittee conversation? And I thank you for the time.
Anybody from the institutions have a response to that, or to the question around transportation, or the tongue-in-cheek question? No? And I think we did have a Climate Action Caucus on transportation. That was our first meeting, and so we have talked about that. We didn't talk a lot about the commuter rail or the connection around our state. I think it's a really good one and an important discussion, and I know you've been a champion for that issue for a long time, so I appreciate your enthusiasm behind it, and it's certainly something we'll continue to talk about.
I appreciate your time very much. Thank you.
My name is Mike Menzel, and I was a student at the University of Minnesota for 13 years, and it's a great institution. And I want to say, first of all, to the students doing the important work on divestment, I think the winds are changing, and they're going to be at your back, as evidence at the Davos Economic Summit just recently, where now we're seeing multinational corporations and financial institutions saying that the health of our institutions is now dependent on climate mitigation. So keep up the good work, and I think you're going to see some success. And Chairman Bernardi, are there any levers that this committee has for instituting more progressive, aggressive curriculum, K through higher education, on climate change in their teaching curriculums?
To our Mr. Is it Menzel?
Menzel, yes.
Yeah, I do not have an answer for that. Probably some smarter people on that current committee, but you would probably need to follow up with me to see if we can get an answer for you.
And I think our chair of K-12 just had to go as well. So I think it's a discussion that's an important one and one we should follow up on. I think that would be, if there are avenues or opportunities for us to increase that opportunity for students. Okay, thank you. And we got just a couple minutes, so I ask you to please be quick.
I'll be very quick. My name is Joshua Hodak. I'm with the Sierra Club Minnesota North Star chapter. My chairs and committee members and speakers, my question is directed mostly at the University of Minnesota, but all campuses, and that is, it's been brought up many times this morning. We all know that transportation is the #1 climate polluter in Minnesota and the United States. So many of our campuses across the state have transit fleets and other university vehicles. What are your universities doing to transition those fleets to electrification? And what can this body, the state of Minnesota, do to help those efforts?
Anyone go ahead, Shane?
So real quick answer to that one. So we have 15 vehicles currently that are either electric or plug-in hybrid electric in our fleet. We're actually in conversations with Excel right now about participating in their EV fleet pilot program. And I think just for context, our fleet comprises less than 1% of our greenhouse gas emissions as a university. So our primary focus has been on the buildings and facilities. What I would say in terms of how the committee can help or how the legislature can help is, investing in that electric charging infrastructure and thinking about how do we bring more electric vehicles to Minnesota as they become more available by manufacturers, because it's not guaranteed that they will actually arrive in the state. And as we've seen already, that manufacturers make them, but they don't necessarily sell them in Minnesota, or they don't sell them in quantity. So.
Can I ask a follow-up question to that? You said you have 15 that are hybrid or electric, and out of how many? How big of a fleet do you have?
Yeah, our fleet size is about 500 vehicles. So,
yeah. So you've got a little
there's
room for opportunity.
Lots of room for growth. Absolutely.
There you go. Yep. Okay, great.
May I follow up on that?
Yes,
Chair?
please.
And I have proudly driven one of those electric vehicles to Duluth in the middle of winter, and got there with the last wheel rolling to a charger. Part of the issue, of course, is having high-capacity chargers throughout the state of Minnesota, not just in the major metro areas. So that would be a big assistance.
Absolutely. Definitely. Something that's being worked on by the Department of Transportation and the Pathways Project. And so I hear you and I agree. And then Representative Hausman had another question.
Well, mine is to this issue, and it's to us. Where is our money going? We've heard all of the, and we've challenged them with hopes for research. But here's what's happening in ideological committees here at the legislature. The University of Minnesota and higher ed bring proposals to the LCCMR, and then quietly at some meeting, many of those research proposals are dropped by our legislators for ideological reasons. That is happening. I'm seeing some knowledge of that. So this is our challenge. Watch what happens when higher ed brings proposals to us, and are they quietly rejected for ideological reasons, and we never discuss it. The other one on what's going to happen on the bonding bill, to your question about the colleges, and they say we need asset preservation dollars, HEAPR. In the governor's proposal that he's bringing to us for bonding, he has over $200 million for local roads and bridges. Over $200 million for local roads and bridges. The more that goes to roads and bridges, the less goes to HEAPR. Everybody has to watch our process this year. The more we do into local roads and bridges, the less we have for passenger rail or public transit. So that is a threat. My one concern about electric vehicles is, to Ms. Nikasian's point, that students don't have a car at all. As long as we're investing in infrastructure for electric vehicles, there is still a group of people who are priced out of the transportation market. We have to be very, very careful about how we shape those bills. Those are the decisions we're making, and we need to pay attention. We can't just let a capital investment committee write a bill. We have to all be part of that conversation. So that's my one concern about electric vehicles are still a single occupant in a car that needs a road and bridge. And the more we put into that infrastructure, the less we have left for the other. That's a challenge to us.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple that might want to make really brief comment or responses because we're over time.
Just as a quick follow-up to that, you mentioned that we have to kind of keep an eye on this whole process, and I think that something that is not often talked about enough is ways that the committees like this can get more student involvement, because there are so many really complicated political systems that a lot of us simply were never taught about and don't understand. Speaking personally for myself, there's a lot about this that I simply don't understand, and I'm really passionate about it, and I know lots of other people are as well. So whenever there are issues like this that we can get involved in and show our support for this, I think I would personally appreciate it if committees like this could come to us and we can show our support and turn out to make change happen.
We got two other quick comments.
If I could also just respond to that really quickly. I really agree with the sentiment there. I think it's extremely important that we don't look at it as a problem of electric vehicles. I think the bigger issue that we could focus on is electric public transportation that's funded by the state government. It would reduce costs for consumers. It would reduce costs for the government by reducing having to rebuild and repair these bridges and roads. And it would also drastically reduce climate impact comparatively to just reducing to electric cars, because obviously we don't have an electric infrastructure that is funded on clean energy. So even if we have electric cars, if the more electric vehicles we have, the more dirty energy we're having to use to power these until we have a full clean grid. So I would suggest and hope that this committee and the legislature focuses on trying to bolster public transportation, making it more high speed, more efficient, more faster times, cheaper costs for consumers. So it promotes use by students, by local people in the Twin Cities and abroad, and it allows just the people to stop having to drive everywhere, and it would be a far greater impact, I think.
And Mr. Reese, final point.
Representative, but first of all, I want to thank you for your kind comments about our campus and your past support. Without your support, those efforts would never have taken root, so thank you. I'm not going to address transportation. I tend to agree with you, and we have some other issues in rural Minnesota when it comes to transportation. But I would like to point out to the caucus that the Excel Renewable Development Fund, according to Commissioner Kelly, is sitting at about $70 million. And those dollars could move research, move education dramatically forward in our state. And so I'd like you to be aware of that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the reminder. And I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for being here today. Your input and your participation was very helpful. I loved hearing about the partnerships and the programs that you're working with local governments and students and colleges. And so thank you for all your good work, and appreciate you being here today. Thanks. With that, we're done. Yeah. You guys, thanks for coming.